Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this evening's ceremony. Throughout the ceremony, you will be given cues to rise and be seated at the appropriate times. As a reminder, during the playing of our national anthem, military members should stand at attention, and our civilian guests should place their right hand over their heart. We request cellular phones and other electronic devices be turned off at this time. The ceremony will begin shortly. Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Today, the men and women of the United States Air Force, in keeping with one of the oldest traditions in military service, pay special tribute to the Undersecretary of the Air Force, the Honorable Lisa S. Disbrow, on the occasion of her retirement. The presiding official for today's ceremony is the Chief of Staff of the Air Force, General David L. Goldfein. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the entrance of the official party. The entrance of the official party. Please remain standing for the presentation of the colors, the playing of our national anthem by the United States Air Force Band of Flight, and the invocation.
Halt. Halt. Present. Halt. 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 Halt, turn. Halt.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Air Force Chief of Chaplains, Major General Don D. Costin, will now deliver the invocation.
Let's pray together. Heavenly Father, as with all the moments in our lives, the scriptures have much to say about special moments like these. In this Lisa Disbrow moment, we're drawn to the Apostle Paul's retiring words with her inspirational career in mind. I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith. On behalf of a grateful nation that has no idea the bargain it's gotten the last 3 years with her riding shotgun, Disbrow speaks for everybody in thanking you for blessing us with the deal of the 21st century. We do so keenly aware that her favorite fighter pilot scored the deal of the 20th century, while every wise guy in this crowd publicly claims to have married up. Harry Disbrow has the org chart to prove it. Thanks to you, Lord, so do we. And despite the dearth of math majors in our midst, we're especially grateful for the creative calculus you manufactured in yielding 93 effective years of federal service from the Disbrow duo. In a business where the stakes are too high and the funds are too low, their return on investment is clear evidence of your amazing grace. Alongside Ms. Disbrow's retirement pin, we also recommend an Oscar as the curtain closes on the ageless wonder's second full government career, because the air-quotable acting she displayed the past few months in the role of a lifetime could not have been more convincing. What she may have lacked in title and political appointment, she made up for in talent and productivity. So we thank you for an undersecretary whose understanding was overwhelming and whose success as an understudy the last 3+ decades made some mistakenly confuse her with an overnight sensation. As you know better than we do, Father, the over-under on the Disbrow bet worked out in America's favor. May that payoff continue as she moves on. As this preacher's kid turned political appointee, adds a civilian retirement certificate to her DD 214. We echo Jesus' words with the Honorable Lisa Disbrow in full view. Well done, good and faithful servant. Because you have been faithful in a few things, I will put you in charge of many things. The first half of that statement being undeniably true, Lord. We pray that, for the good of the country, the second half will come true as well. Now that she's unloading the Air Force from her rucksack, give us the moxie to take it from here. Amen.
Please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, the Secretary of the Air Force, the Honorable Heather A. Wilson.
The Chief just warned me not to speak after the chaplain. Lisa, you have served your country faithfully for over 30 years. And I wish you could serve with me some more. When I was nominated to become the next Secretary of the Air Force, Lisa was one of the first people I called to talk to. And as we continued to talk and I continued to near a vertical relearning curve, it was pretty clear that Lisa Disbrow has a black belt in Pentagon. And she earned that the hard way, with hour after hour and year after year of committed service on behalf of the United States Air Force. We are deeply thankful for everything you have meant and done for all of us. And I speak for a lot of people who have been mentored by you, whom you have cared for and helped along the way and advised, who you have brainstormed with and helped to solve problems with and promoted along the way and helped. You are a mentor's mentor. And there are a lot of people who are deeply grateful for your friendship. Perhaps the thing that you will be most remembered for, aside from being a mentor and a friend, is your commitment to the Invisible Wounds of War project. You started it in 2010 when you were on the Joint Staff, and you hired some folks who, on the J8 staff, who were role models for others. And by your tireless advocacy, that program extended into the Marine Corps and then to the Army. And your commitment to our airmen, to their health and well-being and continued joy of life will never be forgotten. So thank you for your service, for your sacrifice, and for helping all of us along the way. God bless you, and we'll miss you.
Thank you, Dr. Wilson. Ladies and gentlemen, the Chief of Staff of the Air Force, General David L. Goldfein.
This could be the gold standard for retirements. To be here surrounded by the tools of our trade, 70 years of breaking barriers, and perhaps most importantly, surrounded by your family, the leadership of the Air Force. And I can't tell you what an honor it is to be here to help officiate this ceremony, so thank you for that. Tonight, we celebrate a uniquely American success story. Where else can you graduate from the University of Virginia, after working your way through college, talk to a recruiter, join the Air Force as a 90-day wonder, serve 32 years in active and reserves, and end your career as the Secretary of the Air Force. Only in America. So part of my job is to slow things down a little bit for you and Diz, so you can actually take time to enjoy this moment. Because true to form, Lisa's been running hard right up until the very end, just to make sure all the projects remain on track to success. And sometimes in a work up to a ceremony like this, we move so fast it becomes like a wedding. And at the ceremony, everybody's having a ball but the bride and groom because they're exhausted. So we're going to slow the world down and just enjoy this incredible time together here, surrounded by your family and these incredible machines. And I will tell you, I, for one, am so honored to call you my friend and my sensei. Because there are so many of us in this crowd who have climbed the mountaintop to gain wisdom and guidance from Lisa. And you were always there for us. And for so many who followed in your contrails. And we all know jobs come and go, but families forever. And the children, Stephanie and Derek, and the grandsons, Parker and Brody, are the center of your universe. In fact, Diz calls you a baby hog whenever the grandkids are around. And we certainly all enjoyed the picture of Parker coloring on the floor of the Senate hearing room during your confirmation. And speaking of Diz, if Lisa is my sensei, then Diz is our Yoda. 50 years of service that included combat flying in the F-15, Squadron Command, and ending as the Deputy Lead Operator for the entire United States Air Force. Now I'm going to get a lot of head nods on this one, because Diz has mastered the look. So I can remember going to Diz for advice on some harebrained idea. I think it was like, retiring F-15s to buy a handgun or something like that. And I laid out the plan, and I looked to him for guidance, and he didn't say anything. He just gave me the look. And so, of course, like every weapons school graduate, I'd retrace my steps, reverse course, and leave thinking I had just had the most important mentoring conversation in my life. And only later I'd replay it and realize he never said a word. So Diz, I'm a believer that we actually have one lasting legacy that matters, and that's those who we raise to replace us. And so there's so many of us in this room that are actually your legacy. And so I want to join everybody here to say thank you. So it's fitting that in the rural parts of Virginia are known as hidden gems. And so certainly Virginia had a role in molding the hidden gem on the stage tonight. So she grew up in a rural farming town with her brother David and were raised in a very religious household. Her dad was a Presbyterian minister who later went on to be an elementary school teacher, and her mom was her first grade school teacher. And the military was probably the furthest thing from your mind, even back then, but fences and fields couldn't corral her curiosity for what lied beyond the Shenandoah Valley. And so she put herself through University of Virginia, deep in student loans, back-breaking work, as a waitress, 3 jobs, doing it all on her own. And she even managed to take a semester off to backpack through Europe by herself and still graduate on time with a degree in foreign affairs. And despite zero family background with the military, much less the Air Force, she decided to talk to a recruiter. And thank God we got to you first. She graduated from officer training school on the 4th of July, 1985. 32 years next week. And completed intel officer training at Lowry Air Force Base. Her first assignment was at the Pentagon, in what has now hit me, the Air Force Watch Center. Not to date her, but they actually sent messages through vacuum tubes around the Pentagon. And as often happens with our most talented officers, she was selected to be the junior exec for the Director of Intelligence. Of course, now in the hands of one of our very finest, Das Jamieson, who also I know is a good close friend. In the midst of Desert Storm, she completed a 2-year master's degree program in foreign policy and Arabic at George Washington University, setting the bar pretty low there, we see. And with her training still fresh, and despite being a mom at the time, she fearlessly deployed out of Shaw Air Force Base and headed to Khobar Towers, because that's what airmen do. But of course, there was a silver lining there, because that's where she met Diz. And that wouldn't be the last time that Diz had to get used to the fearless attitude. Soon after transition to the reserves, she was hired by the NRO in the black world, where she couldn't share where she worked or who she worked for. Tell me if I got this right, but all you knew is that you got dropped off at the metro and she took off for work and you had no idea where she was going or what she was doing. And thankfully, the NRO called when they did, because I'm told that you were in the final days of training to be a waitress in Old Town, not willing to wait. And as soon as they called, you quit and joined the NRO. I imagine you all probably enjoy going back to that restaurant now and then. But confidence aside, I think you will all agree that Lisa is not one for the spotlight. But her fan base is huge, with time spent in places like Checkmate, the Skunks, the Engine Room, and 19 years on the Joint Staff. So I was told that there was time on the Joint Staff that you were presented a highly distinguished award by the Secretary of Defense. In the middle of the citation, she actually started departing the stage and had to be called back by the Secretary of Defense. Because to Lisa, she's just doing her job. The former Vice Chairman, Admiral Owens, brought you back to the Joint Staff for the very first time as J8 as the ISR expert. And listen to this. She worked with 10 chairmen, starting with Shali Kashvili and ending with Marty Dempsey, who wrote in, by the way, and said, Lisa is the very best of the remarkably talented and wonderfully dedicated civilians I met in my 41 years of service. Lisa received the first call to pass on that Scott O'Grady was shot down. And under General Dave Deptula, worked to automate the AOC 1.2. But perhaps your most lasting contribution was to completely build the global force management process that we enjoy today. And General Schwartz wrote in, the tank never enjoyed a brief better prepared, more compelling, and thoughtful than that offered by Lisa. And she was President George W. Bush's special advisor for policy implementation in the White House, working with luminaries like Steve Hadley and J.D. Crouch. And she shared one memorable moment when the president shared a little bit of frustration. And he said, you know, I keep giving guidance in the State of the Union address, but I never know if anybody actually does anything with it. So, of course, Lisa got the call, and they started setting up for the planned weekly meetings with the president. And, of course, for which there was one meeting. Sounds familiar to my team. So for an airman who's worn all the hats, active, reserve, deployed warfighter, civil servant, political appointee, military spouse, loving mother, Lisa, you are nothing short of an extraordinary lady, an extraordinary airman. Or as former Chief General Welsh wrote in, there's never been a better human being in the job. She listened, she understood, she took action, at the Pentagon, on the Hill, fighting for the total force. And she always appreciated the opportunities and the challenges, ask the hard questions, and help us look at things with maybe a little bit different lens. The perfect torchbearer for what our first Undersecretary of the Air Force, Arthur Barrow, stood for. He was known as a shrewd, no-nonsense negotiator. And despite presidential budget constraints, sound familiar? He pushed for a turbojet and revived the B-36 as an intercontinental bomber until the B-52 came along. So here's just a few of the things that we know Lisa worked because we were right there with her. A 25% management headquarters reduction, Force of the Future, the third offset, building the space team, and the Principal Defense Space Advisor, RD-180 Hell, the B-21 protest, and building and executing a get-well plan for our remotely piloted aircraft enterprise, which included weekly meetings with Deputy Secretary Bob Work, who wrote in to say, Lisa, you are a standout even among the most dedicated, professional and principled. But the overwhelming, yet not surprising consensus is that you are above all an even better friend. During much of her time as our undersecretary, she was dual-hatted as the FM, the financial manager. And she built the organization to get at our information technology, concluding with assignment, finally, of the first Chief Data Officer. Air Force Digital Services, OCX, DEAMS, the list is really endless. Under her steady hand, we seized opportunities and made tremendous strides. The bottom line, Lisa Disbrow is the real deal. And just with each of the positions she held, she was always in the moment. With each interaction, whether catching up with her roommates from college, listening to what's new with a past teammate, or stopping to chat with an airman, a soldier, a sailor, a Marine, and learning about their story. There's a story from when she was on the Joint Staff where she went to a 3-star's office and asked him to prioritize his top 4 tasks because she was so passionate about taking care of her staff and wanted them to be able to enjoy their personal and family time. So she told her boss, we can do these 4 things, or we can do these 4 things, but we can't do them all, which had been career suicide for some on the Joint Staff, but not for Lisa. Her airmen, including myself, we consistently relied upon and admired her finesse as she would work the Hill, the Pentagon, and the halls of Congress, and your knack for building friendships, like Secretary Work said. And as Secretary Wilson talked about, we're all familiar with your work on the invisible wounds of war. You actually ignited the momentum for the Airmen for Life campaign, and it's been fun to see it take off and flourish. And so, Lisa, it's my distinct honor, surrounded by these incredible tools of our trade and surrounded by your Air Force family, to inform you that if you have completed your obligation to support and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that you bore true faith and allegiance to the same, and that you well and faithfully discharged your duties. Everyone in this hangar represents literally hundreds whose lives you've touched along the way over these 32 years. So Don and I, along with everyone here, wish you and Diz fair skies and fair winds as you move on to the next chapter, which I'm sure will be spent with more time with those grandbabies, Parker and Brody. May God bless this nation that we love and those like Lisa Disbrow who've sworn to defend her. Thank you and congratulations.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise as General Goldfein presents Ms. Disbrow with the Outstanding Career Civilian Service Award. In recognition of her distinguished performance in support of the United States Air Force from 31 July 2014 to 30 June 2017. During this period, Ms. Disbrow served as the Assistant Secretary of the Air Force for Financial Management and Comptroller, the 25th Undersecretary of the Air Force, and Acting Secretary of the Air Force. During her tenure, she focused her energy ensuring our cyber forces maintained and provided key defensive and offensive capabilities to the joint community and the nation. She drove rapid acquisition of new technologies and capabilities into the hands of our warfighters quickly and cost-effectively. Ms. Disbrow also increased critical investments in globally integrated intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance and United States Air Force space missions. Most recently, she provided a steady hand during the 2017 presidential transition and was able to secure an additional $5.6 billion of critical requests for additional appropriated requirements to address readiness and improve lethality of the force. The distinctive accomplishments of Ms. Disbrow culminate a distinguished career with the United States government and reflect great credit upon herself and the United States Air Force. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing as General Goldfein presents Ms. Disbrow with the Certificate of Retirement from the United States Air Force. By order of the Secretary of the Air Force, Ms. Lisa S. Disbrow is retired from the Senior Executive Service with the United States Air Force, effective 30 June 2017, after more than 29 years of faithful and devoted civilian service. Please be seated. General Goldfein will now present Ms. Disbrow with letters of congratulations from the Secretary of the Air Force and the Air Force Chief of Staff. At this time, will Ms. Disbrow's husband, Colonel Harry Disbrow, please come to the stage. General Goldfein will now present Ms. Disbrow's spouse, Colonel Harry Disbrow, United States Air Force retired, with a certificate of appreciation from the United States Air Force. It reads, Colonel Disbrow, your continued commitment to the Air Force, your family, and your spouse's profession during her career has been a model for others to follow. For this, we are forever grateful. With our deep appreciation, admiration, and respect, we present this certificate as a remembrance of your years as a member of the Air Force family. You may be seated, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, I invite to the stage Mr. John Cornack and Ms. Christine Myron from the Eisenhower Center, Ann Arbor, Michigan.
You done hugging? Okay. Ms. Disbrow, this flag and quote were chosen for you because of your leadership, your dedication, and your fierce inspiration to serve our airmen who sustained the invisible wounds. It is truly an honor to have the opportunity to present this symbol from the Eisenhower Center to you. With all you've done for these men that we see at our center, it couldn't have been done without your efforts. Thank you.
This one. As a being a steely warrior for a month.
Ladies and gentlemen, General Goldfein. You may be seated.
So what I was telling Lisa is that the Wounded Warriors at the Eisenhower Center made that for her, made that shadow box. And so this is something that they wanted to do just for you, to say thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Disbrow.
I was doing so well until that moment. Thank you. Well, you guys are the ones doing the work. Thank you so much for being here. What a great venue. It's amazing. I said no muss, no fuss. This is a little muss and fuss, but it is just really amazing. Wow. Secretary Wilson, thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your leadership. I'm so excited about what you're bringing to the Air Force. From day one, watching you. Your expertise, your patience with us, and you're diving right in. Thank you for the friendship you've extended me and the partnership you've extended me. And I will miss working with you, but I'm a phone call away. So anytime, reach out, and I will be there for you. Chief, thank you for all of this, for your words. It's an honor to be a partner with you, wingman, friend. It's a friendship that's going to extend, so this is not a goodbye. Thank you. Your leadership has made us all better airmen. You care deeply about the force, and it shows every day. And thank you for pushing us on joint network ops. I really look forward to watching that. Thank you for your vision. General Goldfein often says he's a 6-year academy grad, but don't be fooled by that. Because from the day I met you, we were action officers together, to our time working as leadership on the joint staff. He's known exactly what the force needs today and into the future. Every day he pushes us to grab opportunities and to work through challenges, and he makes it fun. But most of all, you're just a really good person. It's been really meaningful to work on many tasks and initiatives with him, but the Invisible Wounds of War effort was the greatest honor. It's the one I'll treasure the most. So it was very fitting and a surprise to have you all here, so thank you very much. And the team working Invisible Wounds are now integrated into our MR. So I really appreciate the leadership MR is now going to give with the Chief and Secretary to this important initiative. It's improving care for airmen, and we're getting systemically at the hurdles to their care. There's a lot more work to be done, but we're getting help to where it matters the most. Orchestrating this event took a whole team of people, and a lot of them, and I want to thank them all. From those who planned it to the museum staff, some of whom are here, thank you very much. Protocol, the honor guard, the band, my front office staff, and everyone else who contributed to making this event tonight, thank you very much. Would everyone join me in thanking them? Most of these folks are the quiet ones who are trying to blend in, but what you do every day makes it happen for the airmen every day, so thank you. I want to recognize a few more people. Sevy Wilson, Battle Buddy. It's been a blast. We get a lot done, and we have fun doing it. And General Wilson is a little like Mikey now. It's any task that comes along, give it to Sevy, you know. So, thank you. I'm going to miss you. To the commanders here tonight, the senior civilians, and the staff directors, each of you represent hundreds of thousands of airmen from across all the missions who make up the total force, active, reserve, guard, civilian, and those airmen are incredible. They're the ones that deserve my biggest thanks for what they do every day, and they get it done no matter how tough or under-resourced or the long hours. So thanks to all the airmen that you represent here tonight. And thank you for your leadership, and thank you for representing them. You have a huge load to carry, and you do it with excellence. It's been a privilege to stand with all of you. My 30-year friend, Linda Mallow, is here. Thank you, Linda. You're representing a lot of friends who couldn't be here tonight. I also want to recognize everyone in the top 4 offices. This group of incredible people support us between the glass doors every day. They're making it happen for you all. You all are my work family, and I'll miss you. To the PSD team who are blending in so we can't see them, they keep the Secretary and Chief safe, which keeps us all safe, so thank you to the PSD team. To my family, thanks for standing with me. It's been an incredible journey. My husband Diz, thank you for your love, your understanding, weekends that I was working, long hours, all that. And thank you for your service to the Air Force. Our children, Stephanie, Derek, and my stepchildren, Natalie and Jenny, who couldn't be here, they were patient, they gave us love, and they gave us wonderful grandkids, who I can't wait to spend a lot of time with. My parents taught me the value of hard work and the importance of education and curiosity, and they couldn't be here tonight, but they're why I'm standing here. So 32 years sped by, and I loved every single minute, but I'm really excited about getting out to find a new way to serve. I have to confess, I'm really looking forward to some fishing trips with Diz and time with the grandkids, hanging out with Linda, and having lunch with all of you when your schedules permit. With retirement comes some reflection about a career and of incredible experiences, the great people I've had the privilege to serve with, many of whom are here tonight. I've learned something from each of you. You've given me something to carry with me about the mission and about how to lead. I've carried these lessons across my 32 years, packing them in my bag like a life-saving parachute to pull out when I was jumping into a new challenge. As I get ready to jump from the Air Force into a new challenge, I want to thank also many colleagues, bosses, mentors, and friends who aren't here. All of these giants taught me to work relentlessly on the mission, gave me opportunities to work and deliver results on really tough tasks they trusted me to deliver, and they supported me. And I wouldn't be here today without their gifts. It's been a privilege to serve, but you here in the room understand because that's what you're doing every day. I'll miss your expertise, your teamwork, your friendship. I'll leave the Air Force, though, with incredible optimism for the hundreds of thousands of American airmen that you lead every day, each one incredibly important to the Air Force team. I can proudly say I walked with heroes. It's been an honor. Thank you all. Let's get to the party.
The men and women of the United States Air Force are proud to have served with Ms. Disbrow and wish her and Mr. Disbrow every success in their future endeavors. Please rise for the playing of the Air Force song. We ask everyone to join us in a receiving line and attend the reception immediately following. Thank you all for attending, and we wish you a pleasant evening.